All right, we're starting off with a tough question. How many whips or works in progress do you think you have? Don't forget those ones you stuffed in the closet or next to your bed or under your bed, or that one you keep in the car, or what about the one next to the couch? Don't fear, no judgment here. I have a lot of whips as well. Today, we're going to talk about how to organize all those whips so that maybe you can check a few off this month. Hello, and welcome to Bla Bla Black Sheep, a weekly yarny podcast where I, Sarah Korth of SEK Handmade, talk all things yarny. This week, we're talking whips. I want to take just a quick moment to talk about what I'm wearing and share with you a couple small businesses. First, I have my Lumi scarf. This was my Advent pattern from last year. I absolutely love this. And I thought I'd share with you a fun way to wear this because such a long shawl is a little challenging to wear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put short on one side, wrap it around, kind of even up my ends here. Then I'm going to take this center part and I'm going to give it a twist. I'm going to give myself some more fabric because that was pretty tight. Give it a twist, and then I'm going to pull both of these up through the center and then just give it a little zhuzh. I don't want it too tight around my neck because I'm indoors, but I think that this way of wrapping it really shows off so many of the amazing colors in this scarf. Give myself a little room. This yarn is from amazing small woman-owned business called Knitted Wit. I have used a lot of their yarn and I really love it. Bold colors, super high quality, and they've worn really well. Next, I'm going to share with you my earrings. These are such a fun little neutral earring with a great little pattern on there. These are from Deborah at Bla Jewelry. I just checked in with her. Her shop says she's on a little break, but will be coming back in January. So hopefully she'll be back any day now, and it'll be up and running when you see this. I have several pairs of earrings from her shop. They are lightweight, really high quality, and super fun. So I definitely hope you'll check out those small businesses. Links to everything right below in the show notes. All right, let's dive right into our topic. Have you ever picked up a project and looked at it and been like, oh gosh, what hook was I using? What pattern was I using? I definitely have. And so today we're going to talk about some ways to organize your whips so that you're always prepared to dive back into working on them. Also going to talk about organizing them in such a way that will help you keep going on them. I want to tell you a quick little story first to make you feel better about your whips. This last weekend, I was tippy-tapping on some work and I was writing a post about whip wrap-up. My littlest was standing next to me as I was tippy-tapping on my computer, and he was talking to me. And he sees my graphic for whip wrap-up and he says, "What is whip wrap-up?" And I was like, "I'm glad you asked." So I said to him, it is an event where a bunch of us get together, we join in community, and we really encourage each other to finish up projects that we've had sitting around for a while. And that child, out of the mouths of babes, looks at me and says, "Like those?" and points at my mini project bags hung on the wall. And I was like, yes, like those, child. I always keep lots of whips around and I'm easily distracted by a new project or a new yarn. So you are not alone if you have lots of whips. So let's talk about how we're going to get organized with them though, because as whips accumulate, I feel like they also like spread out a little bit. They end up being like lost socks that kind of get like stuffed away in little places and like you forget you were even working on some of them. So the first thing I want you to do to help you get organized is gather it all in one place. This can be overwhelming. Don't feel like you need to do this in one day. Just maybe like even for a week, just like walk around and be like, I'm gonna take all my whips and I'm gonna set them on the couch, on the dining room table we never use, in the guest bedroom. I'm gonna get a big plastic bin and I'm just gonna put them all in there. However you best want to gather them all up. We're not causing stress. No stress here. Once you have gathered up all your whips, I think it's easier to evaluate them all at once. Looking at everything you have really gives you perspective on what you have gathered over time and can help to make decision making easier. Because the next thing I want you to do is I want you to go through all of your WIPs and I want you to think, does this bring me joy? Am I ever going to finish this? How long ago did I start it? And the reason we're asking that is because we want to pare down our WIPs to things that still bring us joy. I think a lot of times we set things aside due to guilt. Let me tell you, I am the person who reads the book all the way to the end, even though after the first or second chapter, I knew I didn't like it. Guys, don't be me. We don't have to do that. So if you set aside any of your WIPs because you were unhappy with them, now's the time to just be honest with yourself and say, I don't have to finish this. The great thing about yarn is, unlike baking where you throw stuff together and then like if it's not good, you gotta throw it out, we can take it apart and create what my friend Ashley calls a phoenix project, which means from the ashes of an old project, something new and beautiful can grow. So don't waste your time, hard feelings, or energy on something you don't love. Go ahead and just set it aside for now and go through all of your WIPs. We're only keeping the things that we really want to finish and that are really making us happy. Everything else, it's got to go. After you've evaluated all of your WIPs, go ahead and frog the ones that you're just done with. It can be scary at first to take apart work that you've done, but I think you'll find that when you end up with balls of yarn that you can reuse on a new project, you're going to find it to be very freeing. It is a quick, great way to really cut down on what you have laying around. Now, before we stuff all of our WIPs back into various places in our house, I think we want to make a bit of a plan. Take a look at what you have and maybe decide, are there some things that have kind of deadlines? Like, do you have a spring top that you'd really like to wear when it gets to be spring? You might want to put that closer to the top of your list. Or are some of them holiday gifts that you haven't finished up? Those may need to be at the very tippy top. Once you've kind of made a plan for your WIPs, and this can be as detailed or as vague as you want. So it could be like, I want this project done before I go see this friend in 2 weeks. And I want this project to wear on my vacation March 27th. Or it can be like, this is bringing me joy. I'm starting here first. These are other things I'd like to get done. These can wait a little bit. So, whatever makes you feel good about having a plan. Okay, so once you have all your WIPs pared down and you have a bit of a plan going on, I want you to go ahead and unify how you are organizing your WIPs. The very first thing I would recommend doing is getting a project bag for each individual WIP. If you're like me and you've been gathering project bags for many years, you may already have enough to put every project in a bag. However, if you are a beginner or you have not collected project bags like it's going out of style, you may need to purchase a little project bag to store each of your WIPs in. This does not need to be fancy and expensive. You can go on Amazon and buy lots of little drawstring bags, like a whole package of fabric drawstring bags for not a lot of money. So check that out before you decide to invest $200 in fancy project bags. Not that I would judge you if you do. I highly encourage pretty project bags. Once you've got all of your project bags set up, we're going to put one project in each project bag. I like to keep my patterns physically rather than digitally, but if you don't, that's totally fine. You're going to store your yarn and your project in one of those bags and a pattern if you like to print a pattern. That just helps remind you what you are working on and keeps everything contained and protected. Now, the one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is the hook. I don't know about you, but I tend to lean towards projects with similar hook sizes. There are 3 or 4 hook sizes that I use over and over and over again, but I don't want to have 8 H hooks, one for every project I might have that's using an H hook. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is place a hook in the project bags with only projects you are currently going to work on. If you're like me, that's not one project. I usually have 3 or 4 going at a time. Those other projects that I'm not going to do immediately, I take the hooks out of the project bags. Otherwise, they get lost to the ether and I end up repurchasing hooks I already have. Now, the tricky part is once you take a hook out, you have to have a method to remember what hook you were using. And you cannot rely on what hook was called for the pattern, because if your gauge didn't match up, you could have been using a very different hook. So I have a couple recommendations. I have purchased little stitch markers that have hook letter names on them. If I take a hook from a project bag, I get one of those stitch markers and I hook that onto the project so that I know that that project was using a K hook. I know I've mentioned several times about creating projects on Ravelry, and I have to give another little push for creating projects. Here's why. When you create a project on Ravelry, it's not only helpful to yourself, but it is also helpful to other people who are looking to make that pattern and to the designer. Patterns with projects get more sales, and honestly, when I see new projects, it just brings me so much joy. It also helps people who are shopping for patterns see what the pattern looks like when made by someone other than the person who designed it. Now, here's what's important to what we're talking about today. It also helps you. And here's how. You can create all sorts of notes in those projects. So you can create a project, take a picture of where you're at now, upload that, list the yarn you're using. So if you lose all the yarn bands and maybe need to try to find more, you'll still know what you used. List your hook size that you're using. Make notes about any changes that you've made to the pattern. Then if you have to step away for a while and come back, you'll have all of that together and you'll be able to remember. The last thing I want to encourage you to do when you're organizing all of your whips is take some of those whips that you know you're not going to get to for a while and box them up. And by box them up, I do not mean in a cardboard box. I highly recommend storing them in plastic. This keeps pests and water and smells away from them. Box them up and slide them away somewhere safe. This helps keep them out of the way and all in one place so that you can come back to them later. Now, because I forget about these things, I would probably take a note and place it in my paper planner. You could do this digitally as well. Just a list of all of the whips that I packed up in that box and potentially where I put that box. That way, later when I'm inevitably like, where is that whip I know I have a note of where I put it. I hope this helps you organize your whips so that you can feel better about them and be ready to tackle some of them. On that note, I want to encourage you, if you're watching this in January, we are doing whip wrap up. This is such a fun event where we just all come together for free. We come together in community. I have an Instagram chat that's going on. I have a Facebook group. I'm going to get my Discord group rolling here again if that's your preference. We chat about these things. We encourage each other. We share what whips we have, what we're going to get finished up. We cheer each other on. It's a really great community and a really great time to start the year off fresh, checking those things off your list. I'll link to all of the things down in the show notes so you can join in. It's a really great time. I highly encourage you joining one of the communities. Couple other quick announcements. I released a whole bundle of gorgeous colorwork patterns last week. I'm going to be slowly now releasing each one individually, except for the cup cozy. That will always only be available in the bundle. So if you missed the bundle, which is always on a discounted price, so you can totally go buy that. If you would rather buy each pattern individually, I'm going to encourage you to sign up for my email list because I'll be releasing those each over the next few weeks, and it's my email list that's going to get the best discount code. One last thing, I am super excited to share with you that again this year I am a blue sky maker. If you've been with me for a while, you know I love me some blue sky yarn. I'm working with Nancy and Kara again this year. They are so lovely to work with. Just a joy. They take such good care of their makers and they send us a fun little care package each year. So I've got this cute little blue sky project bag. Definitely going to put a whip in there. And then they sent me 2 of their yarns to try. This is their Prairie Fingering, which is a really soft, let's see, I want to say mohair. It's Surrey alpaca and baby Haya alpaca. No. Hukaya alpaca. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's very soft and fuzzy, and I love this neutral gray. And this is their organic cotton sport. I'm not a huge cotton person, but I gotta tell you, this is really soft. Actually, one of my very first projects I ever made with their yarn was their cotton yarn. So I must say, it's very soft and nice to work with. There's also this cute little keychain that says Blue Sky Fibers and has this little alpaca on there. It's so cute. Keep an eye out later this year. I will be partnering with them for some really great projects. All right, I think that's all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I always enjoy chatting with you. Leave a comment below about how many whips you have, or if you have any organizing tips, I'd love to hear them. I'll be back here again next week. I hope you'll join us. We're sneaking slowly towards 100 episodes, and I'm going to have a special little celebration for that. So make sure you stick around, subscribe, turn on notifications, do all the things. Maybe even share this with a friend so that they can join our community too. We'll see you back here next week, and happy crafting.